Welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Hanifin. I'm the managing editor of The Wise Marketer, and I'm here as your host today for today's webinar, which is Harnessing AI for Enhanced Customer Loyalty, Capitalizing on the Potential of AI to Create Innovative Customer Loyalty Solutions. So here's something for you. As we were preparing for the conversation today, and I thought maybe a good touch point was to look into The Wise Marketer and just see how many articles that we've published tagged by AI or artificial intelligence over the last 6 months to a year. Interestingly, there were over 100, 109 to be exact. So, and at the same time, in about an hour from now, Wise Marketer Group CMO Aaron Dauphiné is going to be speaking at the Brazilian Loyalty Marketing Association in front of about 400 people. Good room. And guess what? On the topic of AI and the impact of that on customer marketing, customer loyalty. So it's pretty clear that this is not only a hot topic, but justifiably so. It's central to everything that we're doing. It could fundamentally change the business and how we operate. And what we've seen is that there are a lot of competing opinions. And the more noise, the more a need there is to clarify. So the purpose of today, and we appreciate everybody that's here, is to build an understanding of how AI is truly transforming customer loyalty as a business and to bring some clarity to all these competing opinions. So that's what we're hoping to do. In the course of the conversation, we'll also hear about how Capillary Technologies is approaching this weighty topic, making contributions in this space to set a course for the future. So let me just do some quick housekeeping, introduce our panel, and then we're going to get rolling. So just so you know the format, we're going to have a conversation of about 30 to 40 minutes. We'll follow that up with Q&A for 5 to 10 minutes. We have a pretty large audience, so we've muted everybody to keep the noise in the background. And there is a Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. If you're familiar with Zoom and have been to these meetings before, go to the bottom. There's a Q&A in their chat. Please use Q&A. We have people moderating those questions. We'll curate those. We'll answer as many as we can. If we don't get to your question, feel free to write us, or else be assured that one of our panelists will answer your question to the best of their ability. So we'll do that. And if you have any other issues, questions, or interest, just write us at support@thewisemarketergroup.com, and we will get your questions answered. So let me introduce our panelists. We've got a really good group here. I'm pretty excited, and I'm going to start at the top because I always love to talk to founders and people that have created great value in the business. So Aneesh Reddy is the founder, managing director, and CEO at Capillary. Aneesh, I hope you don't mind my awkward American pronunciation of, I've been corrected so many times by my Canadian friends that it's capillary, not capillary, but they're different pronunciations, but hope I get grace for that. So Aneesh holds a bachelor's degree in manufacturing science and engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, where he co-founded the entrepreneurship cell and was awarded the Distinguished Alumnus Award by the Institute in 2017. He's been recognized by broad media publications like Fortune India as one of the 40 under 40, India's brightest young business minds. And he's also had other recognition from the Economic Times as an ET 40 under 40. That was in 2017. He's built an incredible company, expanding obviously globally. Welcome, Aneesh. Good to see you today.
Thanks for having me here. Bill, looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's great. And Don Smith is somebody we've known in the business for a long time. I think everybody has known Brierley as a brand in the US, and Capillary acquired Brierley about a year or so ago. Has it been 2 years? Has that much time passed, Don?
That's correct. We're coming up on the 2-year anniversary, believe it or not.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So prior to that acquisition, Don led Brierley's strategic program design practice, which was responsible for engineering solutions that balance compelling value props with enhanced member experiences and data-driven customer engagement. Don's interesting. It's great to know how people's interests, but he's a theater aficionado. He has a passion for presentation, and interesting that informs his marketing data analytics philosophy, and how he creates storytelling and brings numbers to life through contextualization and being able to create with that a whole generation of actionable insights. So Don's a brilliant guy. He's got a lot to share on this topic, and I'm glad that he's here. welcome again, Don. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Phil Rubin, I almost skipped introducing him because everybody knows him already, but he's recognized as a global leader and trusted advisor in the loyalty industry. He's been active for 25, 30 years. He's currently the founder and principal of Gray Space Matters, and this is an innovation and growth advisory that works with emerging technology companies, investors, large enterprise clients in a variety of roles, focusing on profitable organic and inorganic growth. Phil, you may know, operated Our Dialogue for years, strategic advisory firm, worked with an amazing list of clients. I'm looking at a long list, and I'll just tell you that they are the global brands that you all know, from Adidas to Citigroup to Brooks Brothers, Disney, the Mandarin Hotels, Nike, Nordstrom, PGA of America. It goes on. That list is so long. So Phil, his firm was acquired by Bond. He's now going on to the next step and created Gray Space Matters. Welcome, Phil. Good to see you.
Thanks, Bill. Great to see you as always.
Yeah.
And
so I want to start with you. I want to actually start with you, Phil. There's so much talked about relative to what AI can do to positively impact customer loyalty, and breaking through that noise. I mean, you're that guy who kind of sits on top of the mountain, if you will, has an independent viewpoint and can cut through. So is there a top 3 list? Is it possible to break it down to the top few short listed of things that areas where you think AI will impact our business?
Yeah, I think there's more than 3, but I think, given where we are, focusing on just a few really makes sense, especially if you subscribe to my perspective, which that a lot of loyalty is stuck. And I think the goodbye 80s loyalty on Aneesh's background is, and I'm independent, so I'm not getting paid to say this. I think that's right. We are stuck in 1980s loyalty, which is when I started. And when I think back to why we did what we did back in the 80s, it was to fill a database of customers with zero and first party data to do smarter database marketing, because it was really expensive, because it was based on postage and printing. So the CPM, the cost per thousand, was really, you really had to do the math, and you had to be more precise, and you had to use the data to be relevant, or like what Nike taught us simplistically is this idea of know to serve. And that, if you go back, what is loyalty? What do customers want? They want to feel loyalty from a brand to them. They want to feel like they're known and valued. And so while you could think about, and there are people out there who think that loyalty strategy and program design should be done by AI, and cynically you could say, well, it might as well be, because a lot of the loyalty out there today is utterly boring and homogenous. I think the real opportunity is in the air. I mean, and I think you were the one who first sort of dimensionalized it like this, or that I heard, Bill, a while back, the idea of efficiencies and effectiveness. And I think where loyalty has become very ineffective today is people join, but then what happens? How does it transform into a better customer experience? And I think that's where effectiveness in the form of better insights, contextual insights, so in the moment, which isn't just a static view of segments, but being able to incorporate data that's not just zero and first party, but third party data that might be more broad or contextualized, like weather has a huge impact on what we're likely to do today. Whether I went for a run this morning has a great impact on what I might or might not be likely to do today. And so the ability to leverage big data, which was also going to be one of the silver bullets for loyalty and other things, which also hasn't happened yet, the ability to translate those insights into more relevance, into a better customer experience in the moments where it matters, that have the kind of lasting impact that make customers feel a different way, is a big part of the proposition. So it really comes to insights, contextuality, the ability to predict behavior based on all the past behaviors, not just in the narrow zero first party data, but also pulling in some of those other more macro data elements.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So Don, you are the ultimate practitioner at this point, creating technology and apps and helping clients kind of process all of this. So listening to what Phil was just talking about, where do you think the intersection of AI and customer loyalty exists?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. I agree with a lot of what Phil said, although I'm actually seeing a lot of sexy new designs and loyalty too that are innovating and pushing the envelope. And it's
Mhm.
really balancing those things out. But the intersection of AI and loyalty, it is about data being the great enabler. And these single view of customer repositories that we've all worked so hard to assemble and tie back to customers across zero party, across engagement data, across response data, clickstream data, all of it. Guess what? The new world order of AI and is a scale that is really wonderful. We are able to audition more algorithms simultaneously and get much, much better at predictions and learning things about and really interpreting the effects in those models that tell us more about how customers behave and where the key inflection points are in the journey. I think it's really powerful. But I think the problem is that the promise of personalization at scale that's enabled by AI really hasn't been taken place. Because if I look at my inbox from most loyalty programs, and here's where I agree with you, Phil, it doesn't look like hyper personalized to me, tailored to me. I still get a lot that looks like spray and pray, even though I know many of those brands are leveraging AI-based solutions that are baked into their loyalty platforms. And so I think the challenge is balancing those out. But the exciting thing for me has been generative AI. I was skeptical at first, and I have to tell you, the gains there are just absolutely incredible. Tone, calls to action, writing text, generating images, and we test those things in market against the dialogues that we built and that strategists put together, and we often lose. And I think those things are coming together in a way that's exciting. And all of these little data points that we keep adding in become steroids in the model today. And so I think we're getting there, but I don't think we've unlocked the full potential of where we can be.
So Don, let me ask you something. This is talk about the way the proximity of data and the information we're getting. We just posted an article this morning on Wise Marketer, and it included a stat from Gartner that says that just 4% of CMOs say their data is AI ready. And so
Yeah.
while people are blaming shortcomings on AI, it's really not so much, it's not the tools, it's the data. So I'm wondering, where do you think where's the difference between the potential that exists today and then the things that could be executed today? Where are we standing? How big is that gap?
Yeah, I think the gap is big, but let me tell you where I think we're almost killing it today is in terms of automation and automating workflows. But this is preconditioned by that. We spend a lot of time on my team cleaning data, getting it ready, and really making sure that it can be ingested in the right way. Because if you don't do that, anyone who's worked with predictive AI knows that it will hallucinate and it can take some of those trends and really produce something that you don't want. But good, look, at the end of the day, automation, I would say, is the #1 win right now in loyalty. We have a product called Ask Ira that's part of our Loyalty Plus solution. It's so easy. I can literally speak and talk about what I want to do, and I can set up campaigns very, very quickly. I don't have to go in and do all of the point and click and use the GUI. I can get to yes very quickly. And I think automated workflows and journey orchestration are just getting better and better and better in these tools and these platforms. And we're spending a lot less time configuring journeys and a lot more time interpreting what happens to them. So I would say automation #1, generative AI #2. I'm humbled by it. We have a product and we've been beta testing like crazy some of the different messages and a good segmentation that leverages zero-party data. I'm shocked that messages like, yo, fam, major love dropping at these outlets now, works with certain segments. I thought, please don't let this win. Please don't let this beat the text and we've tested it and it does. And it's learning and it's training through adaptive modeling. And guess what? The generative AI is killing it and it's instant gratification in your campaign feeds. And I think predictive AI is nothing new, but it works very, very well. But I have a qualification, and that is it works very, very well with short-term discrete events. And unfortunately, I think that may be where we're stuck. Like if I want to get it, literally the algorithms that are out there are going, I made an offer. I need an instant response. I need the customer to shop today. I need them to redeem this offer. I need them to redeem this reward or renew their subscription. And it does well against those things. But the longer game, for strategists, when we're thinking about how do I really change up the relationship and grow the breadth and depth of what a customer does with a brand, that is a long game. And as strategists and as thinkers, we have to be collaborative with AI. We need to
Yeah.
figure out how it helps us, but we need to build the long-term visions of how we move customers deeper into relationships and do the things that will create stickier, longer-term brand advocates. And that takes thinking and work. AI just enables it. And I think that the final thing that I would just say about this is I think we have a miss right now in voice of customer. AI is always focused on first-party transactions. At Capillary, we spend a lot of time trying to score emotional loyalty and understand how we're really moving the needle with how customers feel about the marketing, the program, and the experiences. And the next step in this journey is going to be leveraging those customer responses and understanding how we build real emotion with what we're doing in the marketing stack, not just drive short-term outcomes. So there's a lot of work to be done.
So you mentioned vision, which is interesting because I think, Phil, do you have a comment?
I just wanted to
Yes.
underscore Don's point about it. If the focus is only that near-term transactional, I mean, that's part of the problem that loyalty has right now. And understanding customers and what makes them feel is such a big void. So I just wanted to kind of pound the table on that. Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. You know, I was listening to Don and to both of you right now, and I was thinking it almost seems like business people took we all became familiar with AI through ChatGPT almost as a product. So it's a consumer orientation we had. So the first thing we naturally do as humans is take that one view that we knew and felt confident in, and we try to apply that to business. And so that's why I think, Don, when you're talking about generative AI, that's where most people are kind of still thinking, and it's that gap in the vision. It's the vision that we're trying to fill in the blanks on. And so I wanted to ask Aneesh, because I think this is I told you before, I'm such a fan of the founder story. I admire people that found and grow businesses, create value. But so you founded Capillary Technologies, I'll use the American pronunciation, with a vision. I'd love it if you could just for a minute share the original vision that you had for the company, and then just talk about how that's evolved, because you couldn't have anticipated, or possibly you did, the advent of AI and how that's transformed business today.
Yep. So, you know, I must say that when we founded Capillary, I was 22-year-old. You know, so all the vision and all that stuff kept aside. We were really two kids out of college, couple of years of working somewhere, and then saying, "Look, we're bored of our corporate jobs. Let's start with that." You know, so luckily for us, we started a month before Lehman Brothers tanked. We started on August 11th of 2008. And Lehman tanked on September 11th of 2008, and everyone knows what happened after that: the recession and the stock market tumbling, and 4 years of quite a bit of hell. And luckily for us, so we were these two kids who were walking around, meeting retailers, meeting consumer businesses, and saying, "We can build good software. Tell us what do you want us to do?" Right. So this was August, September, October of 2008. And to our luck, everyone would say, "Look, our customers aren't coming back to stores. So if you did something to get them back to stores, even though it's a recession, we will buy what you're building." Right. So, that's how really two kids out of college got into loyalty as a business, because we asked them the question and saying, "Look, do you know who your customers are? Typically the answer would be, oh yeah, some 5% fill a form, but most don't sign up. The points are not meaningful, all that kind of stuff, right?" So, so when we started Capillary, the idea was to build something which, helps brands engage with customers better. And I think we hit it right. The recession we do very well in recessions as a business, and And that's how we really started, right? So we started helping a bunch of mid-sized to large retailers in India, building a direct-to-consumer database, engaging with customers, doing a lot of real-time stuff. So one unique thing about us would be, basis what you bought in the store right now, we would say you could also buy this and give you an offer right there. So at the end of your transaction, you would get something saying, if you bought shirts saying, buy a jeans today and you get 20% off only today. So, and we would see like about 7-8% of customers actually going back and doing the second transaction, right? So a lot of real-time analytics, trying to get beyond this. You have to earn a mountain of points before it's meaningful. So it started with that, right? So Capillary really started with that. Very retail, very apparel focused back in 2008. Today, of course, retail is about 40% of the business. We work with all kinds of consumer businesses, healthcare, airlines, travel, all of that. I think what's happened really, if you ask me, Bill, over the last many years is there have been many changes on how consumers deal with businesses, right? Mobile happened, social happened, AI happened. With social, of course, the amount of data that was available grew through crazy, and now it's Gen AI, right? So if you ask me, I'm probably much younger than everyone else on this call, and probably I joke around sometimes with folks from Riley that the number of years you worked is the number of years I've lived, kind of stuff like that. But I feel there's been a big gap between the promise and performance in the loyalty industry. I think as marketers, customers we meet have great ideas, right? That we really want to do this. We want to personalize. We want to get to almost a segment of one. We want to improve the experience at the store. But when you look at the technology that is there to support it, all of this technology was built in the 80s. Right. If you look at all the large loyalty companies in the US, whether it's Epsilon, whether it's Kobe, whether it's Briley, we're all set up in the 80s. And their mindset on technology honestly hasn't changed. It's you still call it as a IT team will build technology for me. I think the world has changed. Software is genuinely eating the world, right? And which is why, and I think AI is making that even more real. Like earlier, I would have customers saying, look, how do we configure this promotion? How do I get this report out? How do I generate this creative? The example Don was giving about Hey Fam and all that stuff, right? Today, it's simple English, right? It's it's you type into a chatbot saying, look, I want to configure a loyalty promotion which targets blah, blah, blah with blah, 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 and you're done.
Right.
So I personally think, the current way of AI is going to be more about productivity, about giving power to the business user than anything else. In fact, even our AI co-pilots, we have 4 of them now, are all focused on, either helping you get creatives faster, helping you get your analysis faster, helping you, run a promotion in simple English, or customer support, right? That helping you reduce the number of, and even if you look at a lot of these public company, earnings calls, a lot of the conversation has been around AI productivity, more than AI helping increase business, which I think in my head, I think we are a few more years away from, really personalization being fully automated through AI and some of that. But I think the thing of, removing entry-level white-collar jobs, the analyst, the campaign configuration guy, or stuff like that, I think AI is right there now, right? You can do it right here, right now,
it's definitely it's an accelerator to business, right? I heard I love the expression Don used about being able to audition algorithms at a faster pace. I mean, that just to be able to run through, the algorithm, the bonuses, all the scenarios, because I think that's what a lot of what we're trying to do for customers are so hard to figure out. So we have to run a lot of scenarios. Now with machine power AI, we can go through that process and maybe reach a better conclusion more quickly, right? Not waste people's time with a bunch of offers that don't resonate. So Don, how about the reality of what's happening today? Can you share any examples of what you're doing with clients, whether or not you can mention the client, but just the kind of things, what's actually working? What are people using today that's effective?
Yeah. I'll give you a couple of quick examples. One of them, and we'll keep the client anonymous, obviously,
Okay.
under NDA, but we have a next best action strategy. Well, we do this with a lot of clients, but one retailer in particular, I do think we've gotten a long ways with AI solutions because, and the key to it has really been, what are the behaviors that will really change up the game over the long term? We call it the don't boil the ocean rule of six. And if we can focus on six desired behaviors and map those things that really help grow the lifetime value of a customer and tie her or him closer to the brand, and then map the right one to the right customer. This is the case where, we have purchase propensity models, for example, that are running in the platform that we can leverage, and we build response models against those as well. And we can look at the expected value. All of this can be configured in a tool to come up with a scenario that goes, we've got six next best actions. This is the one that's right for Aneesh. This is the one that's right for Bill. And that's where we're going to hedge our bets a little bit. And we can build those campaigns and get them into fairly automated workflows. Guess what? As strategists, we still have to stop and read the results and recalibrate how we think about them and how we're provisioning the tactics a little bit. But those things are working really, really well. And I think that if you follow that don't boil the ocean rule, you really can chip away at a lot of this and learn quite a bit. And that's one case. And you're doing this alongside all of the standard stuff that does work, right? Because you've got proactive churn campaigns that are going out, onboarding series that are going out, hero call to action, new product releases, near earn, near expire, all of it has to go out through the life cycle of a loyalty program. But these next best action campaigns really can be automated as a function of AI by and large. They don't do the thinking of how to set up the right next best actions that have a longer term view. And I think the second example is we are huge fans of clienteling. And I think there's an irony of AI, which is lots of brands are using hyper personalization. And I mean, they're mining data and they're getting lots of campaigns out. And in my opinion, most brands are sending too many campaigns and too many communications to customers. They're doing a good job often picking what they're doing, but does it get lost in the spam filter of what we can do? And clienteling is really this notion that there are interaction points with human beings that represent the brand, often face to face with the customer. And if we took that hyper personalization that's automated and going out through outbound channels and turned it around and availed it at real time inflection points where a human being is involved, you have a winning formula. So with one of our brands, we've got customers who are checking into the store, they're at POS, and guess what? The next best actions that we were provisioning for them are being called up to the store associate, right? And we don't write a script for them. We just say, here's what you can do. And they will develop their own authentic voice. And that authentic voice works really, really well. So, for example, with this particular store, they might get a message that says, hey, Mr. Rubin, I'm really glad that you're back. I do have a note here. I've got something for you, but I also have a note that said, you had a problem. You had a bad experience recently with customer care. Did we completely fix that to your satisfaction? And he might say, yeah, you did. And if not, my manager's here. We'll make it happen today. But having said that, I also notice that you have a $10 reward in your account today. And you're nodding, you're aware of that. I've noticed that you've never bought our denim product. I can make your $10 reward a $20 reward today if you happen to put any pair of denim in your basket, right? That's a nice thing to do. Or I'm authorized to give you a free travel sample of a new fragrance. And those things that we're serving up that are designed to get a customer into a new category, the store associates love to give good news and they love to do things that hook up the customers, makes them feel good. That's the winning scenario, is AI informing clienteling.
That's really good. That's really good. It's contextualizing the offers that are out there and probably empowering think about retailers asking their frontline associates to become salespeople. It's not in their makeup always, and it probably wasn't in their
Yeah.
ask when they hired on. But now if you're allowing them to give quote goodies away or to please people, it's a lot different than selling, but you end up, maybe the business ends up with the same after impact. So interesting. So Phil, when you sift through all of this, what would you tell brand marketers today that they need to think about to set themselves up for success the rest of this year and into 2025?
Well, I'll pick up a little bit on what Don just said, which is, and if I think about like, how do we get loyalty to how do we get AI to realize the potential of loyalty strategies and tactics? It is think about your brand as a human interacting with other humans. So the promise of AI is to humanize these interactions. And I think Don's clienteling example is spot on, but I also think when you consider and Don referenced like the garbage that's in our inboxes today, if that was a person constantly saying, "Hey, buy this. Hey, look at this," you would hate that person and you would not interact with them. Right? We all know people like that, and we dread seeing their number pop up on our phones or their name hitting our inbox. So from a brand standpoint, you've got to get back to recognizing customers as human beings, and don't be that guy who's just annoying you, just selling.
Right.
So that's some broad context, but there's some really basic things that I think a lot of companies haven't recognized. And I heard this talking to a CEO of another tech company who's got AI infused. I won't describe, it's a different category. And I asked him, how many clients do you have using it? And he said 0. We've got a bunch of contracts out with clients, but the stuck point that they're seeing is these enterprises haven't yet created a governance strategy for AI, especially large public companies. So that's not very sexy, but it's a foundational element that companies need in terms of let's put some parameters around our applications and what we want to do, because part of that combined with strategy allows you to avoid the mistake of just like tactics in search of a strategy, which we see every day as failing. So I would say governance, number 1. Number 2, strategy around humanizing the brand. And I think testing and validating against human generated alternative actions to validate that, number 1, not just short term, the transactional benefit is there, but long term, you've got to make sure that you're not degrading your brand. Loyalty should be an enhancement and amplification of all the best parts of your brand. I think that's a big point of failure for a lot of enterprises and a lot of brands out there. And the last piece, and Aneesh touched on this, getting data into a centralized, usable, insights yielding state is still a challenge. It's still a stuck point. And I think some of those insights need to go beyond not just next best purchase, but what are the insights around for each customer? What drives their willingness and consideration and ultimately their purchase in tandem with their affinity for the brand? Because if you're just selling and you're not building that relationship and you're not building any loyalty, then you're just going to be selling, as opposed to, hey, this customer's understanding what the drivers of loyalty, which are way beyond transactional at this point, and that's partly our fault because all we throw out there is transactional offers.
Right.
So I would sort of organize it into governance, data and insights, and a strategy around humanizing the customer experience, because that's what clienteling is. It's show me you know me and make my life easier, better, and help me make smarter decisions.
That's really good. So that's a really good external, like brand marketer should be listening to that. And that's really good advice, especially the bit about the governance, but all of it. And
Thanks.
I'm also wondering for the technologists that are listening, the CIOs and others, even on the team that are trying to understand. I'll throw this to both Aneesh and Don. You can answer as you wish, but I'm wondering, is AI standing separate from your tech stack? Does it become incorporated into the tech stack? How does it change when as the CTO, how does it change your philosophy as an architect now? How do you build it in, and how does all that work?
Should I go first, Don? So,
Sure.
I think I think the way you design software is changing, Bill, with AI. Like earlier, you had to think a lot about usability. Now, I think, like the ChatGPT example, right? The chat box is the interface, and you can get pretty much anything done. So I don't think you should look at AI as something sitting aside or outside or any of that. At least in our case, the way we've looked at it is saying, look at every workflow in the software and say, how does, if in an AI first world, how would this run, right? And to the point that Phil made, we are seeing a lot of organizations saying, look, our AI policy is not out as yet. But the good piece is they still are allowed to use copilots. A copilot is like an assisted, instead of you using an analyst to come up with the report, the AI will show you a report. And then you can obviously say that this is right or wrong or make corrections to it, right? So it's an assisted. So we're seeing a lot more adoption happening on the assisted copilot side, on the AI side, than saying, oh, I will give it freedom to run whatever campaign it wants to run, right? So I think there's probably still a few more years before people hand the keys over. Right now, I think it is, okay, let it assist me. If it took me 5 days to run something earlier, can I do it in like 10 minutes now, right? Or if I was depending on this external agency, can this thing pull that out for me directly, right? So that's kind of where and CTOs like that, right? CTOs, CIOs like that, because usually what happens is marketing goes to them and says, hey, can you pull that report out for me? Can you help me run this campaign? And they don't want to do that work, right? So from a CTO standpoint, I think it's applying those copilots, building it into the workflows rather than keeping it separate and outside is kind of what I think is a good way to go.
That's good. Don, what would you add to that?
Not much. I would say I think you embed AI in the tools, and you're seeing that in platforms where the use cases are there. Certainly the automation and Copilot cases that Aneesh talked about are there. We also have a nudge framework in our product, which I think is absolutely amazing. And so as a loyalty marketer, you might be logging into the tool and it does proactively provision recommendations. Like, we've noticed you have a segment with an elongated cadence that is beyond normal return rates. Please deploy proactive retention tactics to these segments. And those things are working very, very well. We had to decide what those nudges were, the ones that had the highest payout value, and make sure we're pre-configuring. But I think that pre-configuration and baking in that and purchase propensity models so that they're ready to go on day one with good data, that's what we need to do, is move those things along quicker. But it lets people like me, who are strategists running the programs, spend more time interpreting what's happening and getting better at changing up how we leverage the assets of the program to unlock and do more.
That's great. That's really good. So as we've been having this good conversation, the questions have been piling up. So I want to make sure that we have time to address some of them. And the first one that I see is interesting. And I might let Phil start on this and everybody chime in. Everybody can have their say. But from one of the brand marketers, I think, that heard loud and clear about, what should I be thinking about for 2025? They're asking, how important is it to market my product as AI enabled, in quotes, versus just doing it, just showing the customer the impact in reality? Like, is it more important? I'm, interpreting this. Is it more important that the customer gets the benefit, or is it that important to also add the hype of AI powered or AI enabled?
I mean, part of the challenge and part of the stuck point for a lot of brands is, look, there's great efficiencies to gain from a cost saving how can we do more with less, right? That's what every enterprise is trying to do, especially from a marketing standpoint, especially from a loyalty standpoint. So
Mhm.
when it's just about that and it's at the expense of the customer and there's no benefit in that for the customer, that's a short term, maybe a success,
Okay.
but in the long term, that's not going to work. If it's not mutually beneficial for the business and the customer, it's not viable, it's not sustainable. And so I think when AI is used to better serve the customer, to better know the customer, to better help them understand that they are known, recognized, and valued, understood. And I think that's particularly true from a younger generation standpoint, because
Mhm.
they will call BS very quickly and they will cancel brands very quickly. Inertia is the best loyalty strategy until you screw it up.
Mhm.
And so that'd be my reaction to that. I would always err on how's this going to help the customer? Because if you can help the customer and create a willingness, if you can create loyalty, you're basically creating a willingness to pay more, to
Yeah.
to do things that might not be the shortest path, but if they're getting more value, ultimately the enterprise benefits because their margins go up and
Right.
their sales go up.
Right. So there's a companion question that before Don and Aneesh jump in, they're asking what special consideration should I be thinking about to satisfy Gen Z? So
I did look ahead at that. I saw that question, and so I kind of wanted to adjust that. But
that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Aneesh is touting his age relative to you, Don, and I. So he should probably take that one. Not that I'm the moderator.
No, but that's fine with me.
Yeah, no, I think Gen Z obviously means low on patience, want stuff immediately, right? So, and don't take a lot of time to like left swipe something off, right? So at least what we're seeing work well there is a lot of ask for rewards, not just loyalty. The second is, I think, a lot of stuff on gamification, right? It's just crazy how, you know, gamification, badges, stuff like that, which, doesn't have like real value, but has more engagement value and more emotional value. We
Mhm.
see that fly off the shelves with, a younger audience set.
Right.
So I'd put those three: games, rewards, and and badges and streaks and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that generation wants to be engaged, and what happens between the transactions, I think, is far more important than the transaction itself for a Gen Z customer.
That's insightful. And that answers another question that you might have seen in there about Gen Z and millennials love when redemption options are vast and hyper personalized. What are your thoughts? So I think you just addressed that, Anish, really well. But Don, you have some thoughts on it?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The more that we can make redemption less static and more choice-based, the more fun that it is. We are having a lot of success right now with what we call redemption stretchers. And if we
Mhm.
can find ways to go, here's your normal reward, but look, we're going to find ways to make your reward work harder, to do a new behavior or try something that you haven't tried before. And they love it because they feel like they're gaming it. Man, I just got hooked up. I totally doubled my reward when I got this. And they
Mhm.
feel like they've won, and the brand has won too. If it's moving us not in a dilutive direction for something that would have already occurred, but
Right.
something that's new, and it fosters trial and adoption, and it should deeper brand engagement. And I think the more, and redemption is not a dirty word anymore. Don't have rewards if you don't want customers to redeem them and use them and be empowered by them.
Right.
And I think the more that we can find and get the right messages to let folks know that they've got those and drive up our redemption rates, we'll be doing a favor for loyalty in general. But
That's
choice
good.
is key. And AI can be part of that choice framework, but we
Mhm.
also have to do a lot of customer listening to understand how those choices are contextualized and appreciated by our members.
Mhm. No, it makes sense. So people are also asking about some very specific ways that AI can help. So for instance, can AI deliver on real-time decision making for a customer? And then, and you've talked about this a little bit already, but maybe just fill in some blanks here. how can AI be leveraged to personalize loyalty program offerings based on individual customer preferences? So it's sort of knowing the customer and then being able to deliver something in real time. Is that going to be a reality?
I think so. Yeah, go ahead, Aneesh.
I can actually give a couple of examples there, right? So we work with this large Vietnamese conglomerate, 4,000 stores, massive presence. 1 out of every 3 households in Vietnam buys from them. It's a grocer, so obviously they have a lot of data and a lot of partners and a lot of people selling through them and things like that. And they've taken an interesting approach. So they run campaigns with an AI model and also run it manually and then compare. Right. So they're in this long game of saying, let's figure what works and then we will keep improving, that kind of stuff. Right. So and what we've been able to do there is, they get like thousands of offers from consumer goods companies to sell in the store, right? And stuff that we've been able to do is basically looking at a customer's behavior, etc., say which offers should be sent to which customer, right? So now instead of running 5 or 6 campaigns, you're probably running 50 campaigns, but a customer is only getting 1, right? But it's extremely personalized to their behavior, etc., etc. It's like it's 50 segments instead of 5 segments, which you would do manually, right? And we have some good data on that now. So these are typically 3-week campaigns, and in a human runway, you're seeing about a 9 to 10% hit rate. It's a grocery type format, high frequency. In the super personalized way, where there's 50 segments and there is really picking the right offer for each customer, we're actually seeing more like a 20% ish hit rate in about 40% of those campaigns. So there is clear view of, if you're able to, like we've run this many times earlier, which is for a consumer, you send 3 offers and you send only 1 offer. Which do you think works better?
Probably the one that speaks to me most based on what you know about me.
We've consistently seen that it's the single offer that works better because you're removing cognitive load. If that's reasonably well personalized, the 1 offer being sent to me is far better than me having to scroll through 5 things. Right. So we've seen that work, right? So basically, personalizing at the endpoint, I spoke about this ability to throw offers real time at the cash till, right? That's another area where we are saying, look, you might have 10,000 SKUs, but let us tell you what is the SKU that you should target this consumer with basis their current purchase, right? So I think there are areas where you could apply some of this more in a real-time fashion to personalize. But again, I think more test and learn is better right now than just like fully automate.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. We've got about, I'd say we've got about three minutes or so, because we like to give people a little time to get to their next meeting, top of the hour. So there are a couple other questions that I'm just going to read, and I think we can respond in written format, or we can address these after. But people are asking about, for instance, there's always that concern about putting your data in the black box. Like there's these analytics solutions that are branded, but nobody really understands how they work. So people were concerned about that. And sort of a companion question was about, what are the ethical considerations about using AI for loyalty programs? Are there concerns for customer trust and data privacy? So some interesting things to think about. Maybe we'll do a follow-up on those two. But I want to ask you this and give you all time to answer this as a group. It's interesting. It's sort of let's bring it all together. But they're asking, how can AI truly impact improving customer loyalty? Is there such a thing as an AI, in quotes, AI-based loyalty program? What developments have happened so far? Where is this going? I mean, Don, you already shared examples, market examples. Aneesh, you gave some great ones. Phil's talked about it. But how can we just sort of cap off this discussion with, is there such a thing as an AI loyalty program, or is it just us serving customers, and now we have technology that enables us to do it in a much more efficient manner?
I would go with the second. I think loyalty is creating a subconscious choice. And I think where AI is today is more tactical promotions, is more next best action, things like that. I do think if you want to subconsciously create a preference for a brand, it has to be led with more emotional stuff. It has to be led with more, drive redemptions, right? Give something back to the customer so that they really want to come back to you again. And
Right.
I think we're some distance away from, I think it's an enabler today for me. AI is a co-pilot, AI is an enabler. But I don't think somehow the idea of an AI loyalty program doesn't ring very well in my head right now. So
Yeah. Okay.
I would agree with that, and also I would emphasize loyalty is not a program, right? Loyalty is an emotional state that comes from a better experience. And so where I think AI holds a lot of promise is in, it's not a new term, but I still think it's a good term, experience engineering. And so if you think about how can AI better engineer experiences, interactions between businesses as represented by their brands and customers, huge potential, long way to go towards realizing that potential. I mean, just look at how good chatbot experiences are today.
Yep.
A lot of
Okay.
potential, not a lot realized.
Yep. I would agree with that, but I think the potential is there to keep, and actually chatbots done correctly can solve problems and anticipate friction points and help solve them. And I think the next step that I'd like to see generative AI go is let's focus on the aftercare and the user experience. Customer buys a new product, let's follow up with them and say, hey, you bought this belt, here's how other customers are rocking it in the program, here's some tips on using it, or the product set. And it's not always about the next purchase. It's about celebrating the existing purchase and helping curate content that feels relevant and goes beyond the transaction. And there's just not enough of that good, authentic, relevant content. And there's a role for collaborative AI where we can use the technologies to curate lots of content that's relevant and map it to the right member. And I think that's as close as we'll see to an AI program.
That's really good. That's a good place to wrap right there, Don. It's a good way to bring it together. So if you joined late or after the intros, we've been talking about harnessing AI for enhanced customer loyalty, and we've been here with a really stellar group of Aneesh, Reddy, Don Smith, Phil Rubin, and this has been as clear and direct and honest a conversation as I've had on the topic for a while, maybe this year. So I appreciate everybody, your time to prepare for this and just to share your thoughts. And for everybody listening, we'll be on the Wise Marketer publishing this webinar on our site, on the main page of the site. You'll be able to find it there, listen to it again. We've got a few questions that we couldn't get to, and we'll send you answers to those. We'll probably put together some of the further thoughts that we've had, based on what Capillary is doing, based on what Phil is thinking about these days. We'll put that together and probably have an article that you'll see there that follows up and sort of fills in any of the blanks. So unless any of you have final thoughts, any parting thoughts, some burning item that you want to share with the group, I'm going to let us all say goodbye and thank everyone for being here today.
Great conversation. Thanks for including me.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.